Imagine waking up one morning, a veil having lifted from your eyes. The world looks different now. You've had the moment of clarity, the realization, the spiritual awakening, the breakthrough. You're no longer the same person who lived in the shadows of your former self. But then, something unexpected happens. Instead of the profound sense of fulfillment you might have expected, there's an overwhelming emptiness. You look around and feel disconnected, adrift in a world that no longer fits. Why does everything feel so empty? A close friend of mine, after reading Eckhart Tolle's teachings and diving deep into spiritual exploration, had her own awakening. I remember her telling me, her voice heavy with confusion, "I thought I would feel alive, vibrant, like everything would fall into place. But now, I feel nothing. I feel lost, like I've outgrown everything that once mattered." Does that sound familiar to you? That feeling when you finally wake up to the truth, but instead of exhilaration, you're met with a hollow silence. You no longer feel the drive to chase after the goals and achievements that once gave your life meaning. All those dreams, all those desires, suddenly they seem like distant echoes, meaningless whispers. Why does spiritual awakening lead to a sense of emptiness? After seeing the truth, why do we feel hollow and unmotivated? What is it about this profound transformation that leaves us questioning our very existence? In this space of silence, of apparent emptiness, lies an opportunity to embrace what is truly unfolding within. But first we must understand the paradox. The clarity you seek doesn't come with the answer, but with the journey through this emptiness. Have you ever felt like you're standing in a place between who you were and who you are becoming? A limbo where you're no longer the person you once were, but you're not yet the person you're supposed to be? That feeling isn't an accident. It's a sacred space in the process of transformation. Carl Jung referred to this transitional phase as individuation, the process by which the ego dissolves and makes way for the emergence of the true self. The ego, that constructed identity we've spent years shaping, begins to disintegrate. It's a painful, almost disorienting process, but it's necessary. It's the shedding of the old self, like a snake losing its skin to grow into something greater. Jung also described this process using the metaphor of alchemy. He called it the nagrado phase, the blackening phase of transformation. In alchemy, the blackening represents the ego's breakdown, the initial chaos before something new is formed. The darkness is a necessary part of the process. It's where the old is burned away, but the new hasn't yet emerged. It's a space of mystery and discomfort, but also of deep potential. And this is the paradox of the spiritual journey. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are simply undergoing a sacred pause, a limbo that stands between who you once were and who you are becoming. It's a time where the familiar structures of your identity start to dissolve, but the clarity of your true self has yet to fully emerge. This phase might feel uncertain, even painful, but in reality, it is one of the most transformative moments in your spiritual journey. It's the space where rebirth occurs, where you move from mere survival to living in alignment with your authentic self. It's a sacred transformation, and it requires patience, not just with the world, but with yourself. When you first awaken, there's a moment, fleeting yet profound, where you realize something has shifted. You're not who you were before, but you haven't yet embraced who you're becoming. The structures of your identity, once so solid, begin to crumble. The ego that you once identified with, the personality, the roles, the labels, starts to unravel. Carl Jung explained this process in depth. He viewed the ego as the part of ourselves that we cling to for stability, the mask we wear to navigate the world. But this ego, as comforting as it may seem, is not who we truly are. Jung described the collapse of the ego as part of the process of individuation. He said, "The ego's collapse is not failure, it's the unraveling of your old identity. It's a necessary, though painful, phase of growth. When the ego starts to dissolve, you may feel lost, disoriented. Your old motivations, what once seemed to drive you forward, lose their meaning. The relentless pursuit of success, achievement, and validation starts to fade away. The career goals, the need for approval, the hunger for recognition that once fueled your every move now feel like an illusion. They were a mirage, a temporary fix to a deeper longing for meaning. The drive for external success, recognition, status, and accomplishment begins to feel hollow. These things, which once felt like your purpose, lose their power to fulfill. They evaporate like a mirage, leaving you standing still, confused, wondering what's next. You've outgrown the old path, but the new one hasn't fully revealed itself yet. This is where the disorientation strikes. You're left standing at the edge of the abyss, uncertain of your next step, unsure of what will give you the drive and the direction you once had. It's not a failure, it's an invitation to let go of the external and return inward to discover what's truly meaningful. There's a moment after the ego collapses when everything seems still, almost frozen in time. It's as if you've entered a sacred pause. The world around you continues, but you remain in an internal limbo, unsure of who you are or what's next. This is not stagnation, it is a profound transition. The soul retreats inward, away from the noise and external pressures, to prepare for the emergence of the true self. It is in this stillness that transformation takes place. The soul retreats inward, awaiting the formation of the self. It's a delicate, sacred rebirth. Much like a seed buried in the soil, it is hidden from sight. But beneath the surface, a quiet transformation is happening. This space between the dissolution of the old and the birth of the new self is necessary. This pause allows you to reconnect with your essence, not the roles or identities you once held. You may feel as though nothing is happening, but in truth, everything is happening within. Jung referred to this period as a rite of passage, a phase of initiation where you enter the unknown, uncomfortable yet essential for spiritual growth. This is the moment of deep initiation, where the old self has dissolved and the new self has yet to be fully realized. It's uncomfortable because it asks you to be in the void, to surrender to the unknown. You cannot force the change. It must unfold on its own. Like the caterpillar that dissolves into formlessness before it can emerge as a butterfly, you are in the chrysalis stage. The transformation cannot be rushed. In this quiet, seemingly unproductive space, you are being reshaped, not physically, but spiritually and psychologically. The old self dies, and the new self is born, but only when the time is right. Trust the process. The formlessness you feel now is the fertile ground for your growth. You are not lost. You are in the process of becoming. You've spent much of your life constructing a persona, a carefully crafted mask, shaped by the demands and expectations of the world around you. It was necessary for survival. It was your armor. The persona allowed you to fit in, succeed, and be accepted by others. It allowed you to navigate the complexities of life, protecting the core of your being from the harshness of society. But now, as you awaken, you start to realize that the persona no longer serves its purpose. The persona is a system of behavior. It was the external mask you wore to meet the needs of the world, to belong, to achieve, to feel worthy. But now, in this moment of spiritual clarity, you see the truth. The mask no longer fits. You've outgrown it. The persona, which once felt like a shield, is now a prison, suffocating the authentic self beneath it. Jung wrote, "The persona is a system of behavior imposed by society's expectations. but once you awaken, the mask no longer fits. This is the sacred reckoning. You cannot remain tethered to an identity that was never truly yours. The world has changed, and so have you. It's time to let go. And with the shedding of the old identity comes the rejection of the motivations that once drove you. Old motivations, driven by the ego, feel foreign now. They ring hollow. The goals, the timelines, the need for external validation, the pursuit of relationships as a source of self-worth. These things once defined you, but now they feel meaningless. Example: the achievements you once strived for, goals, timelines, even relationships, now feel meaningless. They no longer align with your soul's true desires. The things that once fueled your ambition now feel empty, like a dream that's faded away. This is the moment when the authentic self begins to rise. You can no longer ignore the call to live in alignment with your true essence. You are unlearning and recreating yourself, stepping away from the old roles that no longer fit, and embracing the raw, unmasked truth of who you are. This is the beginning of spiritual recalibration, the painful but necessary process of aligning with your deeper self and shedding all that was never truly yours. As you step deeper into this process of spiritual recalibration, you begin to sense something paradoxical. The energy that once fueled your life, hustle, ambition, constant action, seems to fade, leaving space for stillness. You once raced towards success, constantly striving to prove yourself, but now the drive to do more feels distant. This is the moment when the sacred reversal occurs. Jung's concept of enantiodromia speaks to this profound shift. It's the idea that everything, in its extreme, inevitably turns into its opposite. The very energy that once propelled you forward, urgent action, ambition, the relentless chase, begins to reverse itself, transforming into its opposite, stillness and reflection. Jung called this process the sacred reversal of energy. The frantic external pursuit gives way to a quiet waiting, a deep sense of introspection. This phase is not stagnation, but a powerful inward journey. The world that once seemed to demand your participation fades into the background, and the call to be still becomes louder than any external goal. Example: the shift from urgent action to quiet waiting. Jung called this the sacred reversal of energy. What was once driven by ambition and outward striving now feels like a call to pause and reflect. This stillness is uncomfortable at first, but it's a necessary phase in the alchemical process of transformation. This sacred pause, however, is not without its challenges. The shadow, the repressed parts of your psyche, begins to rise. These are the aspects of yourself that you've hidden or denied: grief, rage, unfulfilled needs, desires, and fears that you've tried to suppress for so long. The unconscious mind refuses to stay hidden any longer, and it comes to the surface during this phase. Example: the unconscious rises, bringing with it all you have suppressed: grief, rage, unfulfilled needs. These parts of yourself, once buried, now demand your attention. They are the fragments of the self that were never truly integrated, and they come forward during the sacred void, not to harm you, but to help you become whole. This is the work of shadow integration, accepting, embracing, and understanding these hidden aspects of yourself. Rather than avoiding or denying them, you must face them. Only by confronting these suppressed parts can you fully transform into the authentic self that awaits on the other side of the void. It's a process of wholeness, where light and shadow coexist and contribute to the full spectrum of who you are. In this sacred space between who you were and who you are becoming, there is a call to surrender. This phase, though it may feel like stagnation, is in fact an invitation to trust the process of becoming. It's the moment when clarity does not rush in, it quietly emerges in the stillness. The outer world may continue its noise, but inside you are learning to wait, not with impatience, but with a deeper awareness. This pause is a necessary surrender to the unknown, to the transformation that is unfolding beyond the realm of the ego. It is only through stillness and acceptance that you can receive the guidance that is meant for you. Trying to rush this process, trying to make something happen too soon, would be to force something that is meant to grow in its own time. During this waiting, the soul begins to speak, a quiet voice, often drowned out by the noise of the world, but it's there, deep within you. The soul's calling is not one of external achievement or recognition. It does not ask you to perform, to impress, or to prove your worth. Instead, it calls for a deeper alignment, a coming into harmony with your true self. This voice does not demand action, it demands presence. The true self is not driven by the need for approval, but by the quiet, unshakable pull towards becoming authentic. This phase is an invitation to stop fighting against the current of your own evolution. You are not meant to force outcomes or cling to old definitions of success. Instead, surrender to the unfolding of the self. Trust that, in the stillness, the next step will come. Not as a result of willpower or external validation, but from the deepest alignment with who you truly are. As the fog of the ego's collapse begins to clear, you find yourself standing at the threshold of a new reality. The disorientation of the void gives way to something far more subtle, but infinitely more powerful: soul-driven action. In the absence of the external goals and the constant drive for validation, a new force takes root within you. It is no longer about achievement for the sake of success, nor the quest for external applause. Instead, this new energy pulses from a deeper place, a place where you no longer seek approval, but instead seek truth. This new form of motivation is quiet, internal, and authentic. It doesn't push you to compete or to strive. Instead, it invites you to express, to bring forth your truth into the world, not because you must, but because your very being calls for it. It's a motivation that springs not from external validation, but from the deepest alignment with the soul's true purpose. In this phase, you shift from living in a state of performance to one of participation. You no longer feel compelled to impress or prove anything to anyone, and instead, you become devoted to the process, to your own evolution. The energy that once drove you to hustle now pulls you toward devotion. You move from doing for the sake of external recognition to doing for the sake of internal resonance. This transformation is not a leap forward in the traditional sense, but a quiet recalibration. Your actions are no longer driven by egoic goals, but are instead infused with a deep purpose that emerges from the essence of who you truly are. You begin to live from the self, and in doing so, you experience life not as a race to the finish line, but as a journey into authentic expression. The process of transformation is not always a straight line. Often it feels like you are walking in a fog, unsure of the next step. But in these moments of uncertainty, when progress feels slow or unclear, trust the process. Know that you are not lost. You are being reformed, shaped by something truer, something deeper than anything you've known before. It is a journey of spiritual awakening, of becoming, not in the sense of adding something new, but in uncovering who you have always been beneath the layers of ego, fear, and distraction. This spiritual journey may feel uncomfortable, like stepping into an unknown world. But this is where your greatest growth happens. Embrace this discomfort. It's the very nature of transformation. Allow it to shape you, to bring you closer to the truth of who you really are. As you move through this unfolding process, Share your reflections. The journey you're on is not one you take alone. It's a shared experience, a shared awakening, and your personal story may be the very guidance someone else needs. Every step you take forward in this journey helps illuminate the path for others walking alongside you, even if they haven't yet found their way. So, I invite you to engage. Share your story in the comments, your challenges, your triumphs, your insights. Let's build a community of like-minded individuals who are also embracing the unfolding journey, trusting that transformation comes when we face our own shadows and step into the truth of who we really are. Conclusion: the rebirth of the self and the invitation to begin anew. As you stand at the threshold of this transformation, take a moment to reflect on the cyclical nature of your journey. Spiritual growth is not linear. It's a spiral, ever unfolding, deepening as you evolve. Just when you think you've reached the summit, you find yourself on a new path, facing a new layer of growth. Each step is an invitation to discover deeper meaning, and with each turn of the spiral, you are closer to the truest version of yourself. Your path is not a straight line. It is a spiral, unfolding with deeper meaning as you evolve. Embrace the journey of becoming. Remember, the journey does not have an end. It's not about reaching a state of perfection or an imagined finish line. Instead, it is about embracing the ongoing process of becoming your authentic self. This is not a race or performance, but a sacred living experience of self-discovery. You are not here to perform or fit in. You are here to be powerful in your own truth, to embody love, and to share that love with the world. Allow yourself the freedom to be in your own truth, to shed the layers that no longer serve you, and to step into the fullness of who you are meant to become. The journey is yours. Embrace it with courage, compassion, and an open heart.